Approaching the ruins of Castle Dray, Reggie's whiskers twitched at the familiar stench on the breeze. He refused to believe it, after all he'd done to be rid of them. It could not be. The frog scourge had returned, a pestilence on the sacred forest that could not be allowed to spread. A slapping of webbed feet from the basement. More pond filth waited below, and would soon feel his blade. The frog squatter was none other than General Hackett. No better than a common thief looting supplies. The only thing he'd been taking today was his last breath. the satisfaction of the Frog General dead at his paws, Reggie found the replacement tap. The squirrels would have their sacred sap. Reggie was surprised to find a mole in Bright Fir Forest. The mole was embarrassed. He'd got lost going from station C-19 to station 24/7. Reggie sympathized. Those tunnels were a tough route. Lost he may have been, but still enterprising. The mole had armor for sale, if the king had the coin. The mole had heard of this king of rats who traveled the underground, but never believed it was true. Perhaps Reggie knew the tunnels well enough to give him directions. The king barely noticed the journey back to the Bright Fir, dwelling as he was on the return of frog spawn to the ratdom. Where there's a general, an army must be close by. Reggie handed over the tap, but wished he could spare the old squirrel the pain of hearing frogs were in Castle Dray. The squirrel elder could not allow the festival to continue, knowing pond scum squatted in their ancestral home. Reggie did not need to be asked. He knew what needed to be done. Reggie could not believe the frogs had returned after all he had done to be rid of them. Pond scum never learn. As Reggie made his way towards the ruins of Castle Dray, the stench of pond scum once again drifted in on the cool breeze. The familiar scent made him wonder why the frogs had suddenly reappeared in the ratdom. He'd heard tales of the great Castle Dray from his father's whiskers, but it was hard to believe this mushroom-pocked ruin was ever that once proud place. The evil frog spawn had been looting. These frogs believed they could make the central tower a new base, but Reggie would show just how wrong they were. The central tower. Whoever was collecting all these supplies would surely be at the top. King had thought his lust for revenge was sated, but he would not be satisfied until every frog in his kingdom had croaked their last. A strange crunch beneath his paws. Reggie looked down to see seeds on the floor. Jars of golden bright fir seeds were all around, enough to plant 100 forests. Reggie wondered if the squirrel elder knew they were here. Seems he wasn't the only one here for vengeance. Shield Maiden Yellowtongue was waiting, screaming the name of her fallen brother, War Chief Greenwood. haunting echoes of her last croak. Castle Dre was returned to peace. There was a shrine in the room, carved figures of Reggie and his enemies in Bright Fir Forest. The frogs had planned it all to lure him here. The squirrels at the Bright Fir rejoiced to hear Castle Dre was back to its somber state of peace once more. The squirrel elder could start the Leaf Fall Festival at last. Reggie basked in the joy of the squirrel folk, as warming as the golden light of the firs. He reclined in his chair and was honored with a cup of bright sap. Being king has its perks. The pilgrimage to Bright Fir was not an easy wagon ride. This family's wagon wheel broke in the mud. They offered a reward if Reggie could find them a replacement. With a new wheel in paw, the wagon would be on its way. Reggie assured them they'd not missed the festival as there'd been a few minor delays.